What do you think about Topsy-Turvy? I hear so many people recently coming up with new words and phrases for some vague upheaval of civilization. For a while, I think everyone was happy with when the zombies come, which was kind of funny. It lightened the mood anyway. Because if the zombies actually did come, we would all just have to throw our hands in the air and say, fair enough, I didn't see that coming. Even the people who had prepared for it would probably have to admit they never really thought it would happen. There are plenty of other disasters that we've all been jokingly predicting for years. If, for example, a billionaire enslaves us all, we cannot exactly act as though that was an unforeseeable sequence of events. Zombies would at least have the virtue of surprising us. Recently, I've seen a lot of videos with titles like When They Block the Internet and When the Internet Goes Down. Those scenarios feel less comfortably ridiculous. It's pretty sad to say, but the internet going down would bring things to a fairly shocking halt. A minor example of this, I collect surplus food for supermarkets for redistribution. On a couple of occasions, I've seen what happens when the tills stop working at Tesco. One time they were down for 3 days and I had to ask a friend to bring their car so we could load up everything that had gone out of date during that time because they just weren't able to sell any of it. They couldn't even open the store because without the tills, they couldn't run it. We ended up with more food than we knew what to do with. We were walking down the streets at night, handing it out to homeless people, and even they eventually reached the point where they said, we can't take any more. And that was the tills at one small Tesco's in one city. Anyway, I think Topsy-Turvy is good. If Topsy-Turvy happens tomorrow, you know? It catches the idea of an inversion, things being turned on their head, an overall pear-shapening. If something goes pear-shaped, what shape was it originally? Topsy-Turvy does not pretend to know exactly what the disaster will be. It only really describes the point at which the ordinary structure of things stops behaving ordinarily. I like thinking about what you could do to prepare for it and trying to pare the preparation down to the bare minimum. I know that is essentially what people are doing when they make go bags or bug out bags, but I mean, really, what could you reduce it to? Long life food and some kind of fuel? The really bare essentials. Then reduce it again. So what, like baked beans and lighter fluid? A lot of pen and paper would probably be a good idea to keep sane. The algorithm's really got the wrong idea about me recently. I've seen an awful lot of tutorials about cyberdecks and off-grid living and things that kind of fly over my head. I'm slightly interested by radio mesh networks, though. I always wanted a CB radio as a kid, and this kind of seems to be the modern equivalent. It also seems to be turning into a sort of more civilized version of internet chat rooms. A mesh network with group chats is essentially an internet chat room with one additional layer of protection against stupid people, a minimum technical competence requirement for entry. I saw one video in which a man was building what he called his own personal internet. It was a radio-equipped cyberdeck in a 3D printed case with a large collection of useful information stored on it. I thought the idea of a personal internet was pretty appealing, although what he'd really built was a really specialized high-tech encyclopedia. It made me curious, though, like, what do I actually know? And what do I only think I know because I know how to find it on my phone? What should I have written down in a non-electric form, prior to the apocalypse? A great many things that I think I know are probably things I just briefly check each time I need to know them. It's difficult to decide what would be worth preserving in hard copy. I imagine a similar conversation happened between slightly more intelligent people when they had to decide what to put on the gold record attached to the Voyager. I like the idea of paring essential information down to its bare base. Not every fact, just enough principles for you to be able to figure out the rest. Mnemonics do that, in a sense, anyway. Imagine an entire encyclopedia of mnemonics. Not even like the full explanation of each mnemonic, just its name. A teeny tiny book that contains like prompts that could supposedly jog your memory into recovering anything and everything you've ever learned. Maybe some infographics as well. I'm obsessed with infographics. Although I have to say, I've seen a lot of them recently where like they've kind of missed the point and there's a lot of reading going on. The good ones sort of work like a mnemonic in the way that they give you a general idea of the principle and allow the visual part of your mind to work out the rest. So in a way, that's kind of another form of paring down information, sort of. Anyway, when Topsy-Turvy happens, the essential thing will not be a complete record of the old world. If you ask me, it'll probably be a tiny encyclopedia containing only the bare essential prompts needed for us to work the rest of it out again for ourselves.